What's up, YouTube? So today's story was sent in by Quincy Lee, or better known on Reddit as Let's Split Up. I'm a ride operator for a theme park, and there's one roller coaster we're not allowed to operate. So I've always been obsessed with roller coasters. There's just something about the way they defy gravity, defy death, rush you to the very brink, teetering at the edge where anything can go wrong, yet somehow everyone returns safe and sound at the end. At least most of the time, right? There's some roller coasters though that have been famously dangerous, like the Jetline in Sweden, a popular roller coaster that ran for decades, but after replacement parts weren't properly tested, one of the coaster's trains derailed fatally. Or at Six Flags, where a restraint on the Texas Giant coaster came undone and a woman was flung from the ride to her death. In my town, there's a small Six Flags style theme park. I won't tell you the name, but you've probably heard of it on the news recently. In any case, it's mostly rides and carnival games, and I've been an operator there for the past few months. But there's one roller coaster that no passengers are allowed to ride. Like, ever. It's funny because I see them test running it all the time. One day, I even went and asked a fellow staff member, Markeisha, when they were going to open the new coaster, and she told me never. I couldn't tell if she was being serious or joking, but I asked her again, and she just shrugged. Told me boss says the Ultimate has got some sort of bug. But fast forward a couple months, and Markeisha and I are kind of casually dating. She's nerdy, snarky, and a few years older than I am. As you know, I like my women older than me. But we're pretty different, but maybe that's why we get along. One thing that unites us is our passion for roller coasters. The Ultimate still isn't open, and one afternoon she suggested that maybe we ride it ourselves after the park closes. Wait, for real? Yeah, I mean, last time everything got safety checked, it passed all the checks. Plus, I saw someone on it yesterday when it was running. There's literally nothing wrong with it. I think it's just superstition. The boss won't open it to the public. He convinced it'll go wrong like the first time, he says. The idea of there being some flaw in the Ultimate's design that could be dangerous made me pause, cause what are you telling me? But Markeisha was at least as well versed as I in the matter, in all the ways a theme park could kill you. Anytime there was news of another theme park death, we'd talk about it, whether it fit into our top 10. Mechanical failures, obviously, are big on our list. And other failures, like the water slide that decapitated a 10-year-old boy. Then there are human errors. We often argue whether to count fatalities from visitors trespassing in fenced off areas and then getting whacked by mechanical parts. I don't really count these since, well, it's kind of like when people play on train tracks. Not to be mean about it, but in those situations, you can't really blame the rides, now can you? I mean, seriously, how stupid can you be to trespass in an area that says no trespassing that clearly looks dangerous? It's completely ridiculous. Anyway, the Ultimate didn't have any mechanical issues or design flaws, so in theory, it should be safe. Like Marquisha said, it had recently been tested for any engineering problems and passed with flying colors. Ran smoother than our flagship roller coaster, the Cobra. Neither Marquisha nor I had pre-existing health issues, and the design of the Ultimate was nothing extraordinary. It had only one giant loop, and further on a smaller one. Despite the name, it was actually less intense than the Cobra, our most popular roller coaster. Probably the coolest thing about it was its design. A jet black roller coaster with sinuous curves like a serpent. That's why I liked it. So anyway, Marquisha and a friend of hers, Carlos, and I all agreed to meet after the park closed and try out the Ultimate. Staff were still cleaning up around the park, but it was deserted of visitors when I went to meet Carlos at the main entrance. I remember Carlos and I walking towards those ominous black loops of the Ultimate and seeing the coaster running as Markeisha put it through one more test run. Either another employee or a test dummy was in it as it shot by. It was very fast. Not the fastest in the world, but damn it if it was not the fastest in the park. Dude, that thing is awesome! Exclaimed Carlos. When we got to the ride's entrance, Markeisha told me everything checked out fine and that she and Carlos would go first. I started to object, but she said, "Nah, I get first dibs. I'll run it for you again after." "Let's do this," said Carlos, just as charismatic as always. Like all the modern roller coasters, pretty much everything was automated after pushing the button for it to go. The main part of my job was the safety checks beforehand, making sure everyone was strapped in, nothing loose, no belongings to go flying off the coaster and hurt someone, etc. I sighed and performed the requisite safety checks on Markeisha and Carlos, tugging their harnesses to make sure they were strapped in. And they were. They were strapped in. The rest of the train was, of course, empty. "Come on, let's go!" hooted Markeisha. "Let's do this!" shouted Carlos. I pressed the button and sent them on their way. The coaster began, its two passengers shouting and waving, and slowly ascended the incline to the park's most precipitous drop. I watched, trying not to feel envy. Oh, I'd get my turn, but I burned with desire to go first. I watched as the sleek black train climbed to the very top, hung for a moment at the peak, and dropped like a bullet. Screams from my two friends as they plunged, their hands up, waving, laughter on their faces as they flashed by. And then they were looping. I lost sight of them for a moment from the operator area, so I came out from under the roof and looked up. They were heading towards the second loop, but oddly there was another passenger somewhere at the back of the train car, but I could have sworn it was empty when they boarded the ride. As they spiraled into the second loop, I waited for renewed screams and laughter, but the coaster looped silently, winding on this hypnotic track and then taking the big, slow circle around the back of the start. Not a sound from it. The click-clack of the train's arrival and then the hiss of the brakes. At the front, I could see Markeisha and Carlos slumped in their seats. No one else in the train with them. Absolutely nobody. And no movement from them either. I didn't immediately go to unbuckle them as I was in too much shock. Because why weren't they moving? Were they both unconscious? Had they hit their heads, been jostled too hard? No, that couldn't be. They were strapped in securely, right? The ride looked so smooth. Suddenly, another infamous roller coaster came to mind. One that had been designed but never constructed. Markeisha and I had used to debate about it, whether it would be a fantastic or terrifying ride. The Euthanasia Coaster. The idea is that 24 riders board and pass through 7 loops, and when the ride comes to a stop, they're all dead. The coaster's loops became tighter and tighter, the G-forces, including prolonged cerebral hypoxia, insufficient oxygen to the brain. If you were a rider on that, you'd pass out and be dead before coming to the ride's end. To me, the concept is horrible. Markeisha always said it would be a terrific way to die. I still don't have the courage to approach her or Carlos. There was another staff member walking by outside the ride, pushing a drinks cart. I screamed for help, and she came up and went to the coaster and swore, and then got on the phone. Emergency services arrived and unstrapped Marquisha and Carlos. The next day, the park opened as normal. The incident didn't even make the news until much later. Since there were no traumatized crowds or blood to clean up, just two dead bodies unstrapped and quietly carried away, the roller coaster that remained out of commission, as it had always been. I'm haunted by the fact mine was the hand that pushed the button. But the ultimate was examined and all the test runs were dummies, proved safe. There's no explanation. The ride remained closed due to the bug, but Marquisha mentioned to me back before she decided we should try to ride it. The bug has become some kind of urban myth among the staff here. They test the coaster again and again, every once in a while, running it without anybody on it, and they never put anybody on it. But I learned later that the bug isn't a design flaw per se. What the boss calls the bug is actually a passenger, a rider that can always be seen in one of the seats near the back. Even when the coaster runs with no one on it, a passenger who always appears after the first loop. At least, it used to be a single passenger. Now there are three.